At his peak, he wasn't just the most savage athlete on the planet, he was a footballing beast too. To understand what exactly Zlatan's prime was, though, we've got to go back in time a bit. Born on the 3rd of October 1981, Zlatan began his career in Malmo, and from a young age, the signs were obvious that he was a once-in-a-generation talent. See, growing up, Zlatan was huge. He was bigger than most of his mates, but even with his tall physique, Zlatan was surprisingly very agile. He could move quickly with the ball and was a very good dribbler. Combine that with the ability to score goals, and what you had was a player who was attracting interest from all over the globe. Zlatan initially was supposed to have a trial at Arsenal, but in his words, he said no. Arsene Wenger told me to do a trial. I said Zlatan does not do trials. Big balls on a guy who hadn't even turned 18 yet. Zlatan eventually signed his first professional contract with Malmo, but pretty soon, his next move was on the cards, and it was at his next club that he really announced himself to the world. That goal against NAC Breda in 2004 made Zlatan become a household name in the game. In the 110 appearances he had for Ajax, Zlatan scored 48 times, and the thing with these goals was how good they were. He mastered the art of finishing in many different ways. What a guy! After this, Zlatan secured a move to Juventus. In his time in Turin, he won the league twice, but while he scored the goals, by his second season, Juve got involved in the Calciopoli scandal and got relegated to the second division, and Zlatan was once again on the move. Inter Milan this time, and under Jose Mourinho, he hit it big. 15 league goals in all competitions in his first season, 22 in all competitions in his second, back-to-back league titles, but by 2009, Zlatan wanted to win in Europe, so he was off to Spain to join the reigning European champions. But at Barcelona, for the first time, Zlatan wasn't the main man at the club, it was Messi. He struggled to get the terms with how Barca played, was even played out wide, and in the end, despite managing 21 goals in 35 games and 4 trophies, Zlatan was on the move again, back to Italy, this time to join AC Milan, and this move was key for him, the moment we've been building up to, because it was now he entered the peak phase the world couldn't come to terms with. See, AC Milan was building a team with a mix of youth and experience, and they wanted Zlatan to become the face of it. At 29 now, he was in his peak physical condition, a towering 6'5" target man who was more than role, because going forward, he could do everything. In his first season back in Italy with Milan, he had 22 goals and 12 assists in 42 matches. That's 34 goal contributions in 42 games. The 12 assists for a centered forward says a lot. Zlatan did more than just score goals. He helped set them up for his teammates as well. The 2010-11 season was alright by his standards, but in the next season, he somehow got even better. 35 goals and 11 assists in 44 games, Zlatan was on a tear. 28 goals and 8 assists in Serie A. He won the Capocannoniere Award for being the top scorer in the league. 5 goals and 4 assists in 8 Champions League games, including scoring against his former team, Barcelona. Goal in the Italian Super Cup final against Inter Milan, Ibracadabra. Zlatan was in his peak form that year. He was combining the goals and assists with dribbling and crazy skills too. At the end of that campaign, the richest club in France had seen enough. They were now convinced Zlatan was the guy they needed to take the club to a new level and splash the cash on him to get him to the French capital. PSG. Even though the billionaire takeover had happened, PSG hadn't won the league since 1994. Plus, they wanted to put out a statement as one of the top teams in Europe now, and signing a player like Zlatan was a statement of intent. At 31 now, Zlatan was still in the same peak physical conditions he was in a few years back, but adapting to a new league and a new system was always going to be tough. Well, at least it should have been. Only problem is, Zlatan isn't normal. The the 2012-13 Liga 1 season, his first one in Paris, and Zlatan finished the season with 35 goals and 17 assists in 46 matches. This isn't normal. In every big game PSG played that season, Zlatan was the star man. In the 4-0 versus Dinamo Zagreb in the Champions League, Zlatan assisted all 4 goals. Quarterfinal first leg versus Barcelona, he bagged a goal and an assist, and bagged the assist in the second leg as well. He had 30 goals and 10 assists in 34 league matches. But it was for the Swedish national team Zlatan made his mark, because in the game versus England in November 2012, Zlatan hit 4 goals against an England team that had Joe Hart in goal, and the likes of Wayne Rooney on the pitch too. Saying he hit 4 goals is one thing, but the pick of the bunch? A bicycle kick from 40 yards out. Once FIFA saw this, pretty sure they closed up the polls for that year. Zlatan's 40-yard stunner won him the Puskás Award for the following year. Crazy to think how this was still only Zlatan's first season in Paris. In his second spell, he got even better. Before this season, Zlatan had never gotten past the 40-goal mark in his career. He was 32 now. He should have been slowing down a bit, but instead, he took it up another level. 41 goals and 17 assists in 46 games. Breaking this down, Zlatan didn't just help PSG win the league again, he played a key role in it. In the 33 league games he played in Liga 1, he scored 26 goals, but it was in the Champions League where Zlatan had the world's attention. This goal against Anderlecht could very well have won him a second Puskás Award. It was that good. And oh yeah, he scored 4 goals in that match as well. Now, PSG may have gotten knocked out at the Champions League final in the quarterfinal stage, but Zlatan's record of 10 goals in 8 games was insane. Only Cristiano Ronaldo with 17 had more, and Ronaldo played more games with 11 than Zlatan's 8. He almost single-handedly took Sweden to the World Cup that year, scoring twice in the playoffs versus Portugal. Before they got knocked out in the semis, Zlatan was on a roll. He scored 3 or more goals on 5 separate occasions that season. And at the end of 2013, when the Ballon d'Or rankings were released, Zlatan came in 4th. To be the 4th best player in the world around turning 33 is wild, but once again, Zlatan still wasn't done. He and Sweden were not at the World Cup that year, and that meant Zlatan was fully rested heading into the new season. A fully rested and fit Zlatan can only mean one thing: more goals, at least from the beginning. See, Zlatan began experiencing a couple of nagging injuries that season, and his outspoken attitude kind of cost him too. He got a Liga 1 ban for speaking out at the refs, and a red card in the round of 16 second leg versus Chelsea in the Champions League. But in total, he still managed a respectable 30 goals and 8 assists in 37 matches. It's crazy to think how a 30-goal season in the game now would be a massive achievement for any center forward out there now. Zlatan really was that guy. That season, Zlatan won the domestic quadruple with PSG. And at the end of that campaign, the 102 goals he had now put him second on the list of all-time top scorers for PSG. In just 3 seasons, he was very close to making the record his own. And you can bet his next season at the club was going to be special. October 2015, goal number 110. Zlatan had now become the then outright all-time top scorer for PSG. In the previous season, a lot of his critics felt age had caught up with him, and it wouldn't be long before he'd either leave the club or even retire. But Zlatan was still in his peak era, and he wanted to make this season the best one of his career so far. And he did. 51 games played that year, and for the first time in his career, Zlatan hit the 50-goal mark. Seriously, hitting 50 goals in an era where both Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi were dominating football is criminally underrated. He scored in 5 straight Champions League games that season. He bagged a record of 38 goals in Liga 1 and added 13 assists to show how he could find his teammates as well. In the Coupe de France, he scored 7 times and assisted twice in 6 games. 50 goals. For Sweden also, he was clutch. See, they'd got into the playoff finals for the Euros in 2016. All they had to do was beat Denmark and they'd be through. But it wasn't going to be an easy job, especially against a Denmark team that had plans of making it far into the competition as well. In the first leg, Zlatan scored to help Sweden take a 2-1 win. And going back to Denmark, in the game that was going to decide, Zlatan once again came clutch. Bagged both goals in the 2-2 draw. What Zlatan had done here was nothing short of magical. Zlatan was a big game player. In the final of the Coupe de France, he scored a brace to help PSG to a 4-2 win that year. At the end of the campaign, Zlatan announced that he just played his last season at PSG. He wasn't going to renew his contract, and instead, he'd be off for an even tougher challenge. Playing in the Premier League for Manchester United at 34, Zlatan made his mark in the league too. His 17 goals that campaign made him the oldest player to score 15 or more goals in the league. And at 34 now, he was past his prime years, but he still wanted to show just how much he had to give. In 2018, he moved to the MLS to join LA Galaxy, and his record for the club speaks for itself. Goals like this helped him to 53 goals and 15 assists in 58 matches for LA Galaxy. He returned to Milan in 2021 and won the Scudetto again before announcing his retirement a few years back. Zlatan did everything. He might have not won the Champions League or the Ballon d'Or, but being the top scorer of the Swedish national team with 62 goals, putting PSG on the map, and bagging over 500 goals in his career is a feat not many people can brag about.